Apeman Talks-Unfiltered Perspective.
Parrots are very popular pets, but taming a parrot is no walk in the park. These birds are super smart, but if you don't keep them entertained, they can get pretty destructive. This happened in Taiwan. A parrot sent its owner to prison for 2 months and made him poorer by $90,000. I mean, what are the odds? This parrot just pulled a full criminal mastermind on its owner. Let's picture this for a second. Owner, the poor guy must have thought, oh yeah, I got a pet that can talk. But nope. Instead, he'll have to spend 2 months in jail. I guess you could say the parrot was cagey. According to Taiwan's Central News Agency, a man was sentenced to 2 months in prison and fined $91,350 after his pet parrot injured a doctor. The doctor dislocated his hip and fractured his pelvis because the parrot startled him by repeatedly flapping its wings after landing on his back. Wow! The parrot must have been a real featherweight. What if the parrot said this to its owner? Hey, let's be real. You got what you deserved for not feeding my favorite hazelnut. It's all your fault. Here's the twist. What if it wasn't the parrot at all? What if it's all just a setup? If there is no video evidence, the parrot is not guilty. The next time your pet starts acting suspicious, invest in some CCTV cameras because you never know what kind of ninja skills they might have. When the owner gets out of jail, the parrot could say, hey, I told you I was innocent and you didn't even have any evidence to back it up. That would be a real bummer. Folks, this is why videos can be a lifesaver. It won't cross your mind unless you experience an unfortunate incident, like your house getting robbed or your neighbor's dog pooping in your compound. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at this dashcam footage from Bengaluru. Some shady characters confronted a couple on their way back home.
इंडिकेटर दे रखा है भाई.
उल्टे रास्ते
से आ रहे हो. क्या
नहीं 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 मत उतरो.
नहीं उतर रहा.
बाइक गाड़ी पीछे करो. गाड़ी पीछे करो. जानबूझ के किया इन्होंने. गाड़ी पीछे करो. निकालो ऐसे.
निकलो.
वी हैव कैमरा है.
कैमरा है.
नहीं
मैं नहीं निकल रहा. हटो.
नहीं खोलेंगे. खोलना नहीं. I'll call.
पुलिस कॉल करो.
This footage proves that the driver wasn't at fault. Imagine explaining this to the police in India. That's gonna be tough, right? Unless your uncle is an MLA or your dad's friend is a son-in-law of the area corporator or you're related to everyone in India. In a country like India, emotions can cloud reason. If you don't have a video recording of an incident, it's always the big guy's fault. If a motorbike hits a cyclist, it's a motorbike's fault. When a car collides with a biker, it's a car's fault. When a truck hits a bike or a car, it's a truck's fault. Unless the truck is a tiny truck, then it was probably the car's fault. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The Hindenburg report on Adani. I'm not going to get into the details because, well, you know why? But you know why the mainstream media isn't talking about it? They're still debating how it is spelled. Is it Hindenburg or Heidenberg? They even brought experts for a live debate and the majority of them were so sure it was Heidenberg, they hit it. That makes sense since India is a democracy. The majority always wins. It's a classic example of a democracy at work. Democracy. Let me tell you what's most important. For the past few years, the stock and crypto markets have become a place to get rich quick. However, only a small percentage of individual investors actually made a profit, while the vast majority lost money. Who profited the most? Operators and the big players. So the next time an investment firm calls you to sell you tips or an investment guru sells you a course, tell them to off. And if they don't take the hint, just tell them you already got rich and you are retired to a small island in the Caribbean. Zerodha is India's version of Robinhood app for retail investors. The founder and CEO of Zerodha, Nitin Kamath, who has a wealth of data on people's trading and investment habits, said this. Less than 1% of active traders earn more money than a bank fixed deposit over a 3-year period. Just remember, the 1% are the big players and the operators. Unfortunately, 100% of traders think they are part of that 1%. That includes your brother-in-law as well, who can't stop giving you stock advice. And here's the thing. Nitin has always warned against reckless investing, even though it is against his business. It's like McDonald's CEO telling you junk food is bad for you. I strongly advise you to financially prepare for the worst case scenario, something catastrophic. What if the war in Ukraine or any other war in the future turns nuclear? The whole world will be affected no matter how much you save. Your currency could turn into just a piece of paper. Although there is a slim chance you'll survive a total collapse, what if you're the lucky one? At least you can say you survived the nuclear holocaust. When I say this, I may sound hysterical or extremely pessimistic. But think about it, it doesn't always have to be nuclear. Within hours of demonetization in India in 2016, the currency was nothing more than paper. Unless you trade it for a new one. Remember, the government can do whatever it wants, you gotta be prepared. Regardless of who is in power, you should never stop asking questions. Questions and debates are integral to a healthy democracy. It keeps those in power in check. It's only under autocratic governments that things continue unchallenged and the results can be disastrous. Just look at Zimbabwe. Robert Mugabe ruled Zimbabwe for freaking 37 years. And in 2008, they experienced hyperinflation of 1 billion%. But in 2015, they started demonetizing and switched over to using the US dollar and other foreign currencies. And just last year, they introduced gold coins in an effort to stabilize their currency and control inflation. The goal, of course, is to move away from their reliance on the dollar. But only time will tell if this strategy is meant to pay off. Does this ring a bell? We have heard this story before with Colonel Gaddafi and his introduction of the golden dinar in Africa. And as we all know, that didn't end well. Let's imagine you are a farmer in Zimbabwe. You have worked hard for years, saving your money in dollars. But what happens if there is a catastrophic event and all those hard-earned monies turn into worthless paper? It's a devastating thought, isn't it? But if that money was saved in gold, well, then it would be safe. Because let's face it, everyone understands the value of gold. People know it's scarce and precious and it's likely to retain its value during a crisis. The only problem with gold is that someone can steal from you. Now, I'm not suggesting you throw away all your paper money and put everything into gold. No, not at all. If you're from a middle-class family and looking to invest for your future, consider investing in gold coins starting with just a small amount. How much? Not sure. Your goal could be 20, 50, 100 or even 200 grams. Don't say you don't have money for gold. Invest your stock money in gold until you reach your goal. When I say gold, I mean coins or bars, not jewelry. Because let's be honest, jewelry has an emotional value attached to it and you may not be able to trade it easily. Plus, you're also paying an extra 14 to 16% in making charges for jewelry, which is basically a penalty for your investment. And if you're ever in a tight spot and need a loan, the interest rates on a loan backed by gold are much lower than other types of loans. You may think I'm overthinking, but remember, catastrophe will strike when you least expect it. Last week, the US Air Force shot down a Chinese spy balloon about the size of a 200 feet hovering over US airspace.
All eyes had been on this solitary object floating serenely through US airspace. Was it a harmless weather balloon or a spy in the sky sent by the Chinese? Whatever it was, the American government had decided enough was enough. Look at that trail of white vapour on the left of your screen. That is a US F-22 fighter jet streaking towards the balloon. Then a second trail, this time from a Sidewinder missile, about to bring its journey to an abrupt end.
And if you think China just lost control of that balloon by mistake, think again. The Chinese always have a plan. They may not have succeeded in all of their plans. Sometimes they mess it up. But the point is, they at least have a plan. And just think about what might happen in the event of an invasion of Taiwan. The Chinese could take down satellites in space. When they do, they have an alibi. You shoot our balloon, we shoot your satellite. In 2007, they even conducted an anti-satellite missile test, destroying a Chinese weather satellite at an altitude of 865 kilometers in space.
Low Earth orbit satellites have become indispensable for the U.S. military for communications, for GPS navigation to guide smart bombs and troops, and for real-time surveillance. But they are also extremely vulnerable, as a just-revealed test of a satellite-killing weapon by China ominously demonstrates.
If we, for instance, got into a conflict over Taiwan, one of the first things they'd probably do would be to shoot down all of our low Earth orbit spy satellites, putting out our eyes.
According to U.S. government officials, after 3 misses, China last Thursday succeeded in shooting down one of its own aging weather satellites with a medium-range ballistic missile fired from the ground.
With most countries holding nuclear, biological and hypersonic missiles, it only takes one crackpot, one psycho dictator with a terminal illness to try and wipe out the world. You see, if he is upset, then he wants everyone to be sad. When he dies, then he wants millions to join him. I have been watching these guys over a millennia. When you thought this guy was the most horrible, then he was his daddy. History will repeat. Be prepared. Folks, before I conclude, let me tell you something important. You may have the technology to save the earth from asteroids, but there's nothing to protect you from the greed of men. Thank you for tuning in. Until next week, be crazy, be you. Every week I'll discuss the trending news you should care about and what you can learn from it. Please hit the like button if you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. That's the only way you can show your support for us.